Hello everyone, today we're going to be working on a very neat application. It is a sign up and login form. Now if we see this form, you can switch between the sign up and login here and here very easily. If you come to the email address, if you type in your name, it will show red that this is incorrect until you put at gmail.com. Then it will be verified that this is a correct email. And then if you try to log in without putting a password, it will show you an error showing password is invalid. Please retry. This also works with the sign up. If you try and click this, it will show you, please fill in your full name. It will show red here. So you have to come here and put your name. And if you click it again, it will show invalid email address. So you have to go back. If you put smart and at Gmail, if you come here and click it, it should still show invalid email address. So you have to go back and type in a valid email before it will recognize it as a good input, and then it will switch to the next one, which is password. If you don't fill in the confirmed password, it will still tell you invalid password. Please retry. You have to come here and fill in your password, and once they match, it will show green, showing that yes, what you've done is good. And then if you try to register, it will show successfully loaded, meaning all inputs were validated and all inputs are okay. So that's what we're going to be doing today. It's a really nice application, and I think you can use it in your code. So let's get started. First things first, I want you to install your React application with npx create React app. And then once you've done that, we're going to install MaterialUI, TailwindCSS, and DaisyUI. I've already done that, but you can easily do that by going to MaterialUI and using npm install at MUI material. Just copy this and paste it in your terminal and it will be installed. Then I want you to install TailwindCSS. This is very easy. All you have to do is use npm install this command, put it in your terminal, and it will install successfully. Then you use npx TailwindCSS init to create this file, this tailwind config file, and that's all you have to do. And then you install your npm DaisyUI. Once you install it, you have to add the plugin into your tailwind config file. So we're going to do that now because that's where I stopped. So we're going to copy this onto your tailwind, just cancel this and paste this. So we're all good to go. So now we're going to go back here and we're going to npm star, and we're going to delete all of this because we don't need this for now. We're going to say localhost. Yes, once we run on another port because we're currently using the 3000 port. So we're going to go to this, and we want to clear out everything on the index page. As you can see, this is what we have. We're going to go to our source. We're going to go to our app. We're going to delete this. We're going to delete this. On this. We're going to delete anything we don't need. So we're going to go to our index.js. We're going to delete all of this. Our app.js, sorry. Let's come here. Get rid of all of this. We'll also delete this. Okay, so that's that. Also, from our TailwindCSS, when we install it, we need to add some certain things to the index.css. We need to add this to the index.css. Copy this, index.css, and paste. Okay, so to get this, we need to get this background. So what we're going to do, we're going to go to our tailwind config file, and we're going to specify some colors. In this theme over here, we're going to delete this extend. We're going to say colors. We're going to say dark 0. Or let me just copy and paste this. This is just a bit of file text. All right, so we have dark 0 this, dark 1 this, dark 2 this. this is us just creating our own custom colors so that we can call it when we are using our Tailwind CSS. So over here, why do we have these errors? Okay, so that was just a little bit of an issue, but it has cleared now. What you have to do if you experience that error, just restart your application and you will be a-okay. So now that we've done that, we want to go to our app.js because we want to define our create a bit of styling for our application. So we're going to say div class name. We're going to say bg dark 2. We're going to say screen height. So you can see now we have the background. How do we do that? We just define these colors here, our custom colors, and then we can now use it in our class name when we're doing our styling. Now we have our color, which is okay. So now we want to say div class name width 80%, mx auto, padding top 10. And inside here, we're going to come to our source directory and create our components. It's a components. And we're now going to create a file. We're going to say form.js and say rfc file. And we're going to go back to our app.js and we're going to call it here. Okay, if you didn't know how I did that, it's just Control and space if you're using a Mac. So we're going to call that, we're going to check it. Okay, so our form here. And so now we're going to create the form elements. So we're going to go to our form. We're going to import some certain things. We're going to import or let's go to the website and check it ourselves. Let's go to MaterialUI. Okay, so we're going to use, as we can see here, we're using a switch. So we want to come to MaterialUI and look for a switch. Okay, so a switch here. So as you can see, it's something like this that we're using. So once to open this, want to import switch, copy this, come here, and we're going to be switching between login and sign up. So I think we should create our login and sign up forms now. So login.js, and we'll also create our sign up.js. Inside our sign up.js, we'll say rfc. Make this a capital letter. Just sign up. Now login. I'm going to say RFC. I'm going to get capital letter. Login. I'm going to write here. Login. We're going to go back to our form. We're going to import those two things. Import login. And then we're also going to import sign up. Okay, so now that we have our switch, we have to create the box first and style it. So over here, we want to say, we're going to use style. We're going to say border 1px solid green. Then we're going to say box shadow 0px, 50px, and RGB 26, 173, 46, and 15%. Okay. We're going to say class name. I'm trying to make sure we didn't make any error here. Okay, I don't think we made any error. So in our class, we're going to say rounded. Okay, we made an error here. Currently looking for the error. Okay, so all we have to do is just come on here. So we're going to say class name, rounded, large, margin top 3, text white, background indigo. So we want a background indigo 500. Then we'll say p padding 5, width should be 90%. It should be margin also, large screen. So in the large screen, we want it to be 800 px. It should not be more than that. Then in the medium screen, we also want it to be a width of 800 px. Okay, so let's check out our application. So as you can see, we have these effects just like here. So we need to also create this, and in MaterialUI, it is called a chip. So over here, as you can see different form of this chip, something like this that we want. So we want to first import that chip, copy, come up here, import the chip. So we're going to come down here. We're going to say div and say chip avatar. R. This R means register. Then we want to say color, success, label, register your account, and we want to close this. We want to check that out. They say avatar is not defined, so we need to come back here, and you can see the avatar is being used here. So we want to open this. So we need to import avatar. So we need to copy this, go back up, and import avatar. So as we can see, we've gotten the effects that we need. So I want to go back, close this. In our div, we want to say class name. The text should be 3 extra large. Okay, so now that we have this, we want to create a second one. This second one will be avatar of L, and this one will have primary, and this one will log into your account. Exactly. So now that we have these two, we want to be switching back and forth like the way we are switching here. So to do that, we need to create a state. We'll come here, we'll say constant checked, set checked, goes to use state false. If you want to say constant handle change, I'm currently using tab 9, so it just predicts everything that I'm doing. So this handle change is going to be changing the state of this to be true. Then if it's true, it will change it to false. So we're going to say set checked be event dot target checked. and save this. So now we need to get that switch so we can be switching back and forth between signing and login. So we imported the switch, but now we want to also check some of the things we can do with this switch. This switch comes with a value, a checked value, which we can control the way we want. So you can see checked, and then on change we can see handle change. So what we're going to do now with the switch, we're going to use the switch here. Let's just copy this. I'm going to copy this. So it's going to be below. Okay. So now that we have the switch, let's go back here. So our switch is looking good. Well, we want it to change when it's true this, when it's false this. So what we'll do, we'll come back here. We're going to create a conditional statement here. We're going to say checked. So if it's true, we want to render this. Okay, so if we come here, as you can see, it's switching between the two. Exactly. So also, we also want to switch between the components. So if it's switching, we also want to be seeing the components of login, and if it's register, I want to see the components of register. So we're going to create the same conditional statements at the bottom here. We're going to say checked, and yep, we'll have the first one that we have here is register. So we're going to have sign up here, and then this we're going to have login here. Okay, so let's check it out. So login and sign up. Okay, so we need this to be in the middle rather than being like on the side here. So what we're going to do, we're going to go to this our div. We're going to say align center. Okay, so you can see it's in the center. Now that we're done with that, we're going to start working on our components. We're going to start with the register. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to come here and give it a true. Refresh this. Okay, so I will just start with register anytime we refresh the page. So we're going to close all of this. Close this, close this, close this, close this. We're going to start with our sign up. Now, in our sign up, the first thing we're going to do, we're going to create our text fields. But what we're going to do, we're first going to style this a bit before we start putting in our text field. So we're going to say style. Let's create a little bit of margin at the top. I'm doing both different kind of stylings, so you guys can see different ways you can style your React applications. Okay, so this is the first one, and the next one we're going to say div. Now we're going to say class name. I'm going to say margin top 3, margin bottom 2. Align, want it to align to the left, and this is going to be the full name. And also we want all our text to be white. So what we're going to do both. We'll go to our app, our index.js, our index.css rather. I'm going to say body text. I'm going to say color white. So everything is just white on default. Okay. So now that we have a full name, we need to create a text field, and that's where we're going to use DaisyUI. I created a login sign up form before, and I was using MaterialUI components. So this time around, I want to switch it up. I want to use DaisyUI component. So go to text inputs. So there are different kind of text inputs here. So we're going to pick this one. We're just going to copy this. Then we're going to go to our sign up. So after the full name, I want to get this. Okay. So with full input success. So rather than success, we want to use ascent. Okay. Let's check it. Nice. But we want this to be full width. This isn't full width. This is width full, but this isn't full width. So why is our inputs not spreading the way we want? I think it's because of this max width XX. So let's remove that. So boom. So as we can see, it's looking nice and clean. And we want to copy this so that this will just be, let me see here. Okay, so we want all of this to be in a div. So we want to say div class name. I want to say Magento 5. It's there. Come to here. I'll say. Alright, so we're going to take this. We're going to duplicate it 4 times. The first was full name, then we have email address here. Then after email address, we have password. Then we have confirm password. Okay. So as you can see, everything looking neat. Then we also have a button. So, but before we work on our button, let's validate all these things first. So we're going to need validation for all of this. Password enables. So, but we need to also get the inputs. How do we get the inputs? Now we're going to use use state to get the input in two-way binding. So we're going to come up here. We're going to say our inputs. Okay, so we're going to say constant name inputs, sets name inputs, supposed to use state, and this. So we're going to say next one. Exactly. Next one, claim constant. Exactly. Tab 9 is a very fast application. So with this, we're going to get our inputs, but as we're getting the inputs, we need to do two-way binding with this input without our use state. So we're going to come here. We're going to say on change. On change, I want to say event. We're going to say set name input and the target event target dot value. So this will change the value to that, and we want to do that for all our fields. So here name input here is going to be on change equals to event set email input. Why is this thing set email input with event dot target dot value? Okay, so let's just copy this, come to our next one and change this to password. In our next one, we change it to set unfair password. Okay, so now we're getting the values of this, and now that we're getting the values, we also want to check to make sure that these values are actually gotten. So I want to say console.log confirm password input. Confirm. Okay. Alright, so we want to come to application, reset, change this a bit. Okay, so inside this input, it is currently white, so we're not really seeing anything. So we need to change that. So we'll come to our class name here. We're going to say text black. Let's see that work. That's currently not working. Text dark 0. All right, so now it's working. We want to say text dark 0. So we're going to copy this, put it everywhere. Okay, so now that is done, let's just type in some things here. Inspect our code onto console, and we can see everything we type here is changing. So yes, our two-way binding is working, and our values are being gotten. So now that our values are being gotten, we want to handle error states. We want to handle in case our user is typing something that they should not be typing. So with that, we're going to be validating all these inputs. So let's work on our validations so that we can just link them. So we're going to go back to our source directory. I'm going to say lib, and in that lib, in our lib, we're going to say validation, and in our validations, we can new file. I'm going to say input validations.js. All right, so in our input validation.js, we're going to type out all our logic for our inputs. So we're going to say export constant is email. So this logic is going to work for our email. So we're going to get a value, which is the email, and we're going to pass it to some series of tests. So I'm just going to copy this and put it here. This is going to check if it's a valid email, because right here it's saying any character before an at must be there. Then after the at, it can have any character like Google. Then it must have a dot, and then it must contain some characters that are between 2 to 4 lengths. So after the dot here, you can have .com, .co, but it must be between 2 and a length of 2 and 4. So after that, we're going to work with our constant export constants or letter. So this one checks to make sure that it's only letter we're getting. For instance, the user's name, we want to make sure that there is no number in his name, his or her name. So we're going to come here, we're going to say if you get the text and you trim it, because we need to make sure there's no white spaces, dot length. If the length is less than 7, because it's the full name we're going to get from the user, so the full name has to be greater than 7, or text.string dot length is greater than 30. We want to return false. Else, we want to return true. So that's our logic for all letter. Then we're also going to do our password validation. We're going to say export constant check password. This one I'm going to start with capital letter. Equals to, we're going to get the password. So we're going to say, I'm also going to copy this. We're going to put it through a test. We're going to check. It should have capital letters between A to Z or small letters between A to Z, and it must be between 7 and 14. It can't exceed 14 and it can be less than 7. So that's what we're doing, and we're returning true if it passes this check, and we're returning false if it doesn't. So these are the checks we're going to use. These are the validations we're going to be using. We're going to cancel that. We're going to cancel this, and we're going to go back to our sign up. So in our sign up, we're going to handle the errors. So to handle the errors, we also need to have an error state for each of our input fields. So we're going to say this as error state. We're going to say constant name error set name error. Okay, constant email error and constant password error. So we have our name error, email error, and password error. Now we're going to create the unblock, because here in this code here, as you can see, when a user clicks here and clicks out without filling anything, you can see the whole place turns red. So we want to create that effect. So what is happening is that when a user clicks and then clicks out, which is triggered by the unblock, it checks what the user has placed inside this text field. So we're going to need to do an unblock for them, but we're also going to need to create a function to check their input. So we're going to create all the functions here. We're going to say handle on unblock changes. The first one we're going to say constant handle. Let's leave this file open. So we're going to say constant handle name error. Let's say if name inputs, if we have anything in the name input, if there's nothing in the name input rather. So if there's nothing in the name input, or we get a false from our all letter validation of the name input, we want to set name error to be true. So initially this should be set to false. This should also be set to false. So here we set the name error to be true, and then we return. So if we go through these checks and sees that yes, everything is okay, we want to set name error back to false. So we want the next one, the constant handling email error. So here we want to say if there's nothing in email input, if there's nothing in email input, we want to set email error to be true, and then we want to return. Else, if is email that we get from our validation comes back as false, we want to set email error to be true, and we want to return. Okay, so if we go through these checks and everything is okay, we want to set email error has false, back to false. Then in our password, for our password, constant handle password error, we want to say if our confirm password password, if it is empty, we want to set password error to true. I want to return. Else, if confirm password inputs, here it should also be confirm password input. How do we set? We say this confirm password input. Yes. So if confirm password inputs, and so if confirm password input is not equals to confirm password, password input, so we want to make sure that close use this field and this field have to be the same. So that's what we're basically doing here. We're saying else if confirm password and password input is not the same, we want to set password error as true and return. Else, if we check password from our validation and it comes out as false of our confirm password input, if it comes out as false, we also want to set password error to be true and return or end this. So if we go through all these checks and it deems it okay, we want to set password error as false. So these are all the checks we have. So we want to go back to our want to come here and set our onBlow. So once onBlow happens, we want it to handle name error, and then we want a sign to show to the user that this input we've just filled has an error. So what we have to do is come over to our class name here. We're going to create this, delete this and use templates literal, and this input accent here, what we're going to do, we're going to use conditional statements here. We're going to say if name error is true, if there's an error in it, if it is true, we're going to say input error style. Else, give us our input accent style. Let's close this. Okay, so let's go back. Let's refresh. Now here we're seeing green, right? If we click onBlow, boom, we see red. If we type in something and onBlow, we should see green again. Let's refresh this. So we type, showing red. Not supposed to do that. So onBlow handle name error. If name input is empty or it comes false as all later, set name error to true and return. So onBlow sets name error to false. Handle name error is set as false at first. So let's refresh this and try again. So here we're seeing green. If we onBlow, we see red. If we type in, okay, it has to be more than 7. Okay, then it's green. Okay, it's correct. So if the user types in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it will show error because that's not his full name. We leave. If we say smart Niger Buddha or blue, it should show green. Okay, it's working perfectly. Now we want to also take that and copy this class name here. Go to our next, paste it here. Then come here, say on below, handle email error. Then here, we want it to be email error that uses. So in our password, we're not going to use an unblow because it's on our confirmed password. We want to use it. Or here, we just do the changes. So we'll come here to our class name. Is this? Then want to say unblur equals to handle password error. Then here, want to change it to password error. So once you check our application, refresh, password is okay, email, about red, smart at still red, Gmail, still red.com, green. Okay, perfect. Here, red, still red, copy, paste, green. Okay, that is wonderful. So we have validated everything here. Now we need our button. So we're going to go to DaisyUI. We're going to go to button. We're going to go to our button. And okay, this is no button. Okay, yeah, switched. All right, so come to our button, wide. I want to copy this. Go back. Going to come down here. After this, place this. Now in our button, we want to style it a bit. So we're going to come here. We're going to say btn accents. Okay, so we have our button here. Let's check it. You can see it's looking nice. We want it to be full width, so we're going to add width full. Okay, so we're going to go back. We're going to say margin top 3, so there can be a little bit of space. All right, so that's looking good. Now when we click this button, we want to start a function, which will be our handle submit function. We're going to go back here. We're going to say on click equals to handle submit. We're going to go back up here. We're going to create a function, constant handle submit. Here we're going to say event. Then down here we're going to say event.prevent default. This is to stop the browser from refreshing. Okay, so now that we have this, we need 2 states. We need a success state and a form valid state. Now a success state will tell us when our the whole checks have been given and our application has been successful. For example, here when the user just goes straight up and clicks this button, you can see there's this button starts a function that checks these fields and then shows an error in case any of the fields have any issue. So we're going to have to create that logic. So we're going to come down here. So when this button is clicked, what do we want to happen? We want to check all the fields to make sure that the user has filled it correctly. Now, let's say validations. The first thing we're going to check, we're going to check the name. So we're going to say if the name input is empty, if there's nothing inside, or name error is true. Because we know that name error will be set if there's any error in any of these fields. It will be set to be true. So if the user goes ahead and clicks the button while that error is true, it will trigger this if function here. So if the name input is empty or the name error is true, we're going to say, we're going to want to show the user an information. This way we're going to need a new state. We're going to need a new state called form validity. So we're going to say consent form valid set form valid equals to use state. So now when any of this is false, we're going to come here, we're going to say set form valid to be please fill in your full name in the name field. So we want to have a way to display this to the user. This is where we're going to be using alerts from DaisyUI. We're going to come to alerts. So as you can see, the different form of alerts, we want to use the warning sign. So we're going to copy this. We're going to go back to application here. And here, we're going to say, if there's something in your form valid, please show this. And the information, we want the warning to be what is inside our form valid. Let's check. Press and click. So you can see it's working perfectly. We want to edit this a bit. Get rid of extra space. Okay, so we'll refresh. And we want to also put a bit of margin top to this. You can say margin top 3. Alright, so you can see it's looking good. So now that we have this checking, we want to also check the other fields. Now over here, after it sets form valid to be please fill in your full name in the name field, we want to also set the name error to be true. This will allow us to, if the user just goes straight ahead to click the button rather than go to this field. So if we refresh this, as you can see here it's green, right? Okay, it's red now. If the user just goes straight up and click this button, here will now become red, showing that this is the place that has issue. So that's what we want. Then we'll now say return to end the function. So we're going to do that for our email and confirm password as well. So let's say if email input is empty or email error or this email error is true, we want to copy this, paste it here. Want to set email error to be true, and here we want to say invalid email address. Okay, now we also want to copy this, make another one, and here we're going to say if confirm password input, yes, or password error. Want to set form valid to password must be between 7 and 14 characters. Okay, so then here we want to set password error to be true and then return. And then after all these checks, if all this is successful, we want to set our success. Set success. Want set success to be successfully loaded. This is our success state. So once create it, one says constant. It will be able to tell our application if the form was successful and everything was okay. So once create it, one says success. Set success, use state. So initially success is false, and down here success, okay, not false, success should be empty. Then here we're going to go back to our lat. So we're going to look for success here, copy it, come back here, I'm going to say success and paste this. And we also want to put margin top 3 here, and we want to show our success message here. Okay, so if we refresh, you know, not this, if we refresh, you can see if we click it, we have an error, full name. So we have to type in the full name here, email address, say telling us invalid email.com, password, okay. So here it is showing us successfully loaded, and password must be between 7 and 14 characters. Now we want this to clear when success message is shown. So what we want to do is that when we get to this success here, we want to set form valid to be null. So let's click that button again. So you can see the error message goes, and so we're only left with the success. So that is looking neat and tidy. We also want to create this already signed up here. So we're going to just do that. We're going to come down below our button. It's a brief, the class name, margin top 3. We're going to say already signed up. Yeah, login. And up here, we're going to say class name, badge info, mx2, also pointer. So let's check. Okay, so now to be able to click this and let it switch to our list, we need to pass in that checked function over here. So in our sign up here, say set checked equals to set checked. Okay, so default true, so I want to change it to false. So over here, we're going to put props here, and down back here, we're going to say and click function props.set. So when we click this, we switch to our login. Exactly. So we're fully done with this part of our application. Everything is looking neat and tidy. But here we want to say, we say register your account. So let's go to that button, change it to capital letters, register your account. Okay, so now in this button, we want like a loading. We want the user to know that currently he's his information has been passed and is currently working on it. That's if you're using a API or an API with your application. And if the user clicks this button, all the fields have been verified that yes, everything is working. We want to start a loading spinner here, so that can be easily done because in this button it does has the ability for loading. So what we're going to do, we're going to come here, we're going to create a loading state. We're going to say constant loading, set loading new states. That first is false. So down here, when the button, the handle submit has been clicked, we're going to set from valid none, and then you can set loading to be true. Okay, so if loading is true, in our button here, because we want to show the loading in this our button here, in our button here, we can just do this, and then we can say create a function, and if check, we can say if loading, if it is loading, loading, and if it's not, don't do anything. So this here just tells this button that if the loading is true, we want to use the class of loading. It's just be a loading spinner here. So let's reload this. Let's type in the name. Password. So you can see successfully loaded, and here the loading spinner is working. So I'm just showing you this. You may decide to use it or you may not decide to use it. How you can do it is that when user clicks the button, this handle submit will run. The set form will be set to null and the loading will be true. And then over here, you want to carry out submission. And after the submission, you can now set the loading to be false, and then show the successfully loaded site. So that is completely up to you, depending on how you want to do it. So now that we're done with our register the account, we want to work on our login to your account. So all we have to do, we can just copy all of this. I like to copy it, go to our login, I like paste, then change this here to login. And we don't need our name, so we're going to cancel this. We just need email and password. And for the password, we just need one password. So we're going to use the confirm password rather than this password. So we're going to delete this. We're going to use email error and password error. We're not going to use name error. Over here, handle name error, we're going to delete this. Handle email error. Here in the check, we're going to remove this check because we don't need to compare any passwords anymore. Validations, we can remove this name here. Okay, and up here, the full name. Here, we can remove this. And here, we can remove this password onto. And here, we can change this to password. Okay, we didn't even put placeholders. So our placeholder here, you just put email address. You can just change your placeholder to wherever you want, up to you. And you can put password. Okay, so if we switch and see, looking nice. Let's go back to our form. And what we're passing into the sign up, let's also pass that into login. Then back in our login, in our form, we want to set this to be false, so we start on the login. Anytime we refresh, perfect. Then go back to login. we want to change our button to log into your account. Log into your account, and then here in our login, the down section, we want to say forgot password. No, I want to say don't have an account. Then up here, I want to say bold last name, underline, decoration, solid, and cursor pointer. And here we just say forgot password. Question mark. Okay, don't have an account. Okay, here register. Here, want to set this to true. Okay, let's look at this. Click switches. Click switches. Okay, we want this to be up, so we need to put a BR here. Okay, forgot password. Don't have an account. Alright, so let's check this. If we just click invalid email address, it says smart@gmail. Click see invalid. Let's go. Click switches to password. Smart. Okay, alright. So this is all good. But in our password, we want to change the type to password so that we don't see what the person is typing. Okay, so you can see he has done that. And in our register, we also want to go back to our sign up and change the type to password. And up here, I want to also change the type to password. Okay, so application is done. Really nice, really simple. Please make sure you like and you subscribe to this video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you.